All right, in this lesson we will learn about, actually these three lessons, we'll learn about Latin America, which includes Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. Here are our objectives and standards for lesson 3, and this one is on Central America. Before we actually get started, the reason that we call this area Latin America is because all of these countries speak Spanish, which are of most of the countries speak Spanish or Portuguese, which comes from the Roman Empire, and the Roman Empire at the time that they were spreading language actually spoke Latin. That's where Spanish comes from. It's where French comes from. So we call these areas Latin America, going back to the Roman Empire. So here are the different countries of Central America. And just looking at a few of the landforms that are important in Latin America or in Central America. Central America is an isthmus or a land bridge between North and South America. You have the coastal plains that are along the Pacific coast. You have lowlands, which are along the Caribbean Sea. You also have tropical rainforests in that area as well. And then in the center area, you do have some mountains. And if you remember from when we were talking about North America, again, that is the continuation of the Cordillera Mountains, which the Rocky Mountains are a part of. Some of the different waterways, these countries are bordered by both the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. 5 of the countries actually touch both. The exceptions are Belize up here, which only touches the Caribbean Sea, and you have El Salvador over here, which only touches the Pacific Ocean. You can see Guatemala touches both, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. There are 2 main climate areas. The lower elevations are much more mild. It just like you would expect in a mountainous region, as you go up, it tends to get colder and the climate more harsh. And due to the location of Central America, it is suspect to hurricanes, earthquakes, and volcanic activity. Um, it sits along the Ring of Fire, which circles around the Pacific Ocean. Lesson 4 gets us into South America. So here are the different countries of South America. Some of the important landforms: the Andes Mountains, the Amazon River, the Atacama Desert, the Guyana and Brazilian highlands, the Llanos, the Pampas region, and Patagonia. So taking a look at these different areas, you have the Andes Mountains. If you remember, we talked about the continuation from Central America all the way down in here into South America. It is the longest mountain range in the world because it extends pretty much from the northern part of South America all the way down to the southern part. It extends through 7 different countries. It is a source of the major rivers in South America, and it is a location for volcanoes. Some of the mountains that are actually part of the Andes Mountains are former volcanoes. The Amazon River Basin. The Amazon River is the largest river by volume. It flows from west to east, starting up here in the Andes Mountains, and flows east towards the Atlantic Ocean. The word basin is another word for bowl. So, the Amazon basin is that depressed area, bowl-like area that surrounds the river. Also in the Amazon River basin is the Amazon rainforest. The Atacama Desert, which is a fairly small desert in the size of deserts, is along the west coast over here. Goes into Peru all the way through Chile into parts of Bolivia and Argentina. There is little to no population in this area, and there is no rainfall. It is a totally barren area, unlike some deserts where you do have, some plants that do manage to grow there. The Guyana and Brazilian highlands are the, more elevated areas. Angel Falls is located in the Guyana highlands. It is the tallest waterfall in the world. And the Brazilian highlands are made up of actually several different smaller mountain ranges. And since it is such a large area, there are several climates there. The Llanos is this grassy plains area up here in Colombia and Venezuela. The Pampas area is also a grassland area down in Argentina and Uruguay. And this is where the idea of the gaucho or the cowboy comes in to play in South America. You have a lot of cattle raising in this Pampas region. Patagonia is a desert or semi-arid region. It extends nearly to the southernmost point of South America, and you can actually find glaciers down here in the southernmost areas of Patagonia, the southernmost tips of Argentina and South America. Some of the water systems we've already talked about. We talked about the Amazon River up here, where the Amazon Basin and Amazon rainforests are. You have the Rio de la Plata, which is actually an area where all of these different rivers end up flowing out into the Atlantic. And then there is the Orinoco River, which is this one up here that is the orange. And there are a couple of lakes. Lake Titicaca is the highest navigable lake. It's the highest in elevation. And then you have Lake Maracaibo, which is this area up here. And it is partly salty. It is partly saltwater due to its location. It's not completely enclosed up here. So there is a little bit of salt water getting into the area. As far as climate in South America, you have the El Nino effect, which is something that happens about every 3 years. This is a good graphic showing you how El Nino actually works. So in a normal year, the water is in the far western Pacific. In El Nino years, it moves eastward across the Pacific and causes disruptions in our weather patterns on the West Coast. Natural resource, you can see natural resources are kind of spread all throughout South America. Anything from different agricultural products, you even have oil up here in Colombia, Venezuela. They have actually found there are a great deal of oil reserves in Brazil as well. Natural hazards, again, since it does fall along this ring of fire around the Pacific Ocean, the western coast of South America is susceptible to things like the hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic activity. And then lesson 5 is the Caribbean. So the Caribbean is made up of these different groups of islands. We have the Bahamas, and then usually they're divided up into the Greater Antilles, which are the larger islands in the Caribbean, and the Lesser Antilles, which are all of these smaller island groups. As far as landforms, the islands in the Antilles groups tend to be more mountainous. They are of volcanic origin, and the Bahamas are more flat islands because they were made from coral. Climates, mostly tropical climates. There are some rainforests, and then, of course, the areas that do have the mountains, the higher you go up in elevation, the more mild your climate becomes. Natural resources and natural hazards. Again, you can see the location of some of these oil and gas um, reserves, but mostly as far as natural resources go in the Caribbean, you tend to think about the fishing industry and definitely the tourist industry as far as their resources. They have the beautiful beaches, the nice clear water, so tourism is big in the Caribbean. Um, Natural hazards, hurricanes are the biggest natural hazard in the Caribbean. And that is it for these 3 lessons.